Wednesday, and another episode of Andor has just dropped. And this one had to be one of the most interesting episodes I've ever seen when it comes to an Andor show. It was just simply so incredible. And quite possibly all the interesting details, for example. We learned for a fact that Mon Mothma might actually be in financial trouble. And at the same time, the fact that Mon Mothma clearly is in the minority in the Imperial Senate. While also, it seems to be the fact that Milano's investigation is running in the direction she wants, but she's yet to find Andor. When in actual fact he's still in that Imperial prison, under an assumed name. The other brilliant thing about the episode was, I think, just how well-rounded it was. We learned the fact that the life where Andor is incredibly hard, and that the guards don't really care what the prisoners do so long as they don't kill each other. They just simply spend their time doing nothing at all. Given the fact they've got an electric floor and they get somebody to electrocute them, so they don't care what the prisoners do, and the way the shift patterns work and everything else. Another interesting thing about the whole affair is I think the way the sentencing system works. It seems to be the fact 6 years of shifts. Namely the fact that 1 day of your sentence is literally just 2 shifts, so basically your sentence is twice as long in comparison to the rest of it. The other good thing, I think, is just the fact that we learn for a fact that Mon Mothma is more connected to the rebellion than she initially thought. She isn't just some person just trying to get the thing going. She's actually somewhat connected to the whole rebellion. I think the other good thing about the episode was also the fact that there was so much else going on. For example, in the prison where Andor is in Arcana 5, we learn for a fact that there's been trouble in level 2, which is another section of the prison. And the fact that the Empire doesn't necessarily really care about the lives of its own inmates. For in this episode, one of the inmates actually died. So that was an interesting thing, because all he really had was pretty much just some basic first aid equipment, and then he gave him an injection to kill him, which is probably the best kindness they could probably have done. Then the other thing I think is just also the fact that the old man's health was declining for a little while by this point. And when I mean by decline, I mean for a fact that he was dying. But there was something interesting about the prison I didn't realise up until now. All you would need to do to really escape would just be to, rush the guards. And do it quickly enough and you could get all the stuff you needed. I mean, if the guards weren't quick enough to electrocute the floor, they'd be in trouble. All you need to do is just hide at the transport, or just hide at the transport and fly. And that would be the end of it. The Empire doesn't care about what happens to its own prisoners, which is something truly bizarre. I think the best bit about the whole episode, I think Andor definitely has his mindset on escape. He just needs to find the right people to pull it off. The only problem is, I think the prison is supposedly meant to be foolproof, but it's designed in such a way that if quite possible, if there was an escape made, it would show up with quite a fair few things. I think the other thing is also we learn for a fact the Empire doesn't just use simple brute force method for interrogation. It utilises far more subtle means that do less physical harm, but get the information they out of them want. However, there's a problem with it using these methods in the fact that the information they get could just be completely and absolutely false. So for all we know, Lana knows, is the fact that Cassian Andor's friend, I forget her name now, could have simply supplied her with false information. For all we know, Andor could actually be a woman. Although I think also another good thing was the fact that some of the pieces are coming together. Some of the stolen parts from an Imperial shipyard have been found in use, and that things are going around quickly. The other good thing about the whole episode, I think, was just the fact that we learned for a fact that Mon Mothma's daughter is more of a daddy's girl than an actual Mon Mothma would like, while also at the same time suggesting the fact that she herself she's worrying about the cause of the rebellion itself. And she's trying to do some good, but quite frankly, being outspoken and being somewhat of a pariah in the Empire and in the Imperial Senate doesn't really help. Given the fact much of the Imperial Senate is presently in Palpatine's pocket, he could be using any kind of trick to keep the Senate under control, including Sith alchemy. Given the fact that Palpatine does attempt to use very different Sith alchemy tricks both in Legends and in canon, it would stand to reason quite possibly with the Empire at his back and with the Imperial bureaucracy just sort of running itself, he spends half his time trying to figure out ways of controlling the galaxy, as much as he spends his time trying to figure out how to live forever. That was a good detail to see, just watching how everything there worked. Another good thing was also, for the whole episode, I think, was the fact that we learn exactly how the prison works, and quite possibly the fact that maybe Andor may be wondering about his own way out. He just needs the right people, and when he finds them, he'll have everything he needs to escape. He's just going to need time to pull it off. And that time could come almost any day now. He just needs the right opportunity and the right person to help him pull it off. Or the right people. And I think quite possibly his conviction has been strengthened even more given the fact of the death of an old man, who quite possibly I think was his friend. or one of his fewer friends in the prison itself. That was good to see. It's that the Empire does care about keeping its workers healthy, but if they die in prison, they die in prison. Because the stuff the medtech had in his bag was, I think, a little more than a breathing mask to help with respiratory ailments, and maybe a couple of other things to help with minor injuries. I think the whole idea is the fact that he's basically meant to help someone with minor cuts and scrapes, workplace injuries, come from using the tools, cuts, bruises and abrasions, that sort of thing. That was particularly good to see. What he asked for after, when he realised that there's nothing he can do for him, is a bag and a trolley. Basically, a body bag so he can cart him off. And that's the end of that. I think once that's done, he's done. There was a lot of good detail, so I think the other thing is also, I think Dido now knows who Cassian Andor is, or thinks she knows who Cassian Andor is, and she wants to catch him. But her plans are scuppered by the fact she doesn't exactly know where he is at the moment. He has a physical description, more or less. She knows for a fact that he has someone on Ferrix who he cares about, namely his mother, and for a fact that Andor is trying to do things just to survive, while also becoming a key part of the rebellion itself. That was something also pretty good to see, was the fact that Andor is still out there causing trouble, but at the moment he's in prison, and even if Dido did figure out where he was, she would still have to track through the huge amount of Imperial bureaucracy, even against the Imperial Corrections or Prison Service, in order to find him. And for all we know, someone could be using Cassian Andor as an assumed name. I mean, Star Wars Galaxy is a huge place, so who knows who could be using that name for specific reasons. That was just very good to see. I think it was just the fact of the series is so full of much detail. We're seeing a lot of everything that's going on in the Empire, and I think that's just the best thing of it about it all. There's so much detail here that it almost feels like you could put 100 Legends books around the stuff that would have been put in there is in this series, and it's so very good. It's also very good to see the fact of how the Imperial bureaucracy works, how the Imperial ISB gets its stuff done, how the Imperial Senate is somewhat sort of against any kind of legislation that goes against the Empire, and the risks and motives and prices that are paid to keep the rebellion alive. That is always a good thing to see. I've been the Universal Towns. Thanks for watching. Please remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheerio!